สวัสดีครับวันนี้ผมจะมากราฟ LB 2178ตัวแท้นะครับกับตอสามเหลี่ยมหนามเป็นครั้งแรกสำหรับการกราฟตอสามเหลี่ยมหนามสำหรับผมนะปกติจะใช้ลูกผสมแล้วก็อันนี้เป็นกราฟไม้เมล็ดด้วยเดี๋ยวลองดูนะครับปาดอีกทีนึงนะไม่ค่อยมีน้ำเลยเท่าไหร่โอเคก็วางหนามติดนิ้วหวังว่าคงจะติดนะครับ ไม่เคยกราฟเมล็ดแล้วก็กับตอสามเหลี่ยมเลยเป็นครั้งแรกจริงๆเดี๋ยวหาถุงครอบไปตั้งนิดนึงเนาะช่วงนี้อากาศมันแห้งนะเวลาเราเปิดแผลตอเนี่ยมันระเหยเร็วแล้วก็ทำให้เนื้อเยื่อมันดูดเนื้อของหัวกราฟเราลงไปครอบไปสักนิดนึงดีกว่า
necesitamos para poder realizar un injerto. Banditas elásticas, cinta de papel, una trincheta o cúter a la cual vamos a desinfectar con alcohol, porque es fundamental que el corte que hagamos quede esterilizado para que no tengamos problemas después con alguna formación de hongos. Bueno, después vamos a necesitar un pie de injerto. Tenemos varias especies que podemos utilizar como pie de injerto: Echinopsis, Hylocereus, Cactus, Geometry Sans. ¿Por qué esas especies? Bueno, el Hylocereus es una especie muy fuerte que podemos utilizar como pie de injerto y nos va a ayudar a que sea un crecimiento fuerte, y nos vamos a asegurar de que el injerto pegue fácil, porque es una especie que deja pegar fácil a los injertos. La Echinopsis, hay especies que no funcionan bien sobre el Hylocereus, aparte de que tenemos el problema de que los Hylocereus a los 4 años o 5 años como máximo empiezan a tener problemas y se mueren. Entonces perdemos el pie y tenemos que volver a reinjertar. La Echinopsis tiene un poquito más de tiempo y nos puede durar algún año más. El ideal sería, para nosotros, al menos en la Argentina, el mirtilo Geometry Sans. Bueno, una cosa que también va a ser importante es el tipo de maceta que utilicemos. Si es posible, macetas que tengan una cruz para poder usar la bandita elástica, para que no tenga movimientos. Nosotros vamos a tener que lograr esto. Por eso usamos una macetita cuadrada. Por ejemplo, si usamos una macetita redonda como esta, podemos tener el problema que la bandita elástica se mueva y se corra. Cuando hagamos el injerto, que lo vamos a sujetar con la bandita elástica, necesitamos que quede bien firme y que no nos haga esto. En cambio, la macetita cuadrada, por más que tenga un movimiento, siempre va a quedar sujetando a lo que tenemos injertado. Bueno, vamos a comenzar. Ya teníamos la trincheta o cúter desinfectado. Lo primero que tenemos que hacer es un corte horizontal. Bueno, este era un pie que teníamos injertado y que lo reutilizamos porque pasamos ya lo que teníamos arriba a otro pie. Una vez que tenemos el corte plano, tenemos que hacer un corte con una pequeña inclinación, y ahora les voy a explicar por qué necesitamos esa inclinación. Ahí estamos. Si se fijan, acá tenemos lo que sería el corazón o la costilla del cactus, que eso es en realidad lo que necesitamos que esté unido el injerto al pie de injerto.
Pereskiopsis. I think it's native to Mexico or Brazil or somewhere. But it has leaves, unlike most cacti. And you're going to graft the tiny cactus on top of it so that ultimately you're going to end up with something like this. The idea being that that little bobble head on the top there grows much faster than the seedling would on its own roots. It's very simple to do. You just need some simple household things like paper towels. We got here. Got a one-sided razor blade. Another paper towel, scissors for cutting the leaves off the Pereskiopsis. You need rubber or rubbing alcohol to sterilize the razor blade, and then you also need another type of alcohol, which is celebration ale, which you can drink as you're doing this process. Make it fun. And the last thing you need then is some regular just kitchen cling film. Which you cut it into tiny little strips, and I'll show you how to do all that now. First thing you do is you crack open the beer, have a quick swig, and we're off to the races. So, first thing you got to do is take your razor blade, which is just a simple razor blade like this with the protective side on one side. You can buy these at the hardware store or in the paint department of the big box stores. Take some of this rubbing alcohol, which you can buy at the pharmacy, and just put that on your paper towel. And then you just rub the razor blade with that. And that sterilizes it, kills off any germs or bacteria, so that when you cut into your little tiny seedling cactus, you're not going to transmit that infection from one plant to another. Okay, so the next thing to do then is to take these Pereskiopsis plants and cut them to the right size. I want them to be about this tall, which is about 3 inches tall, and I'm just going to cut the top off with this scissors. And if I do that, I'm going to be left with a cutting on the top, which I can root again and make more of these Pereskiopsis. So I chop that off like that, and then I'm going to need to remove these next leaves underneath that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that leaves plenty of leaves on this plant still, and it's freed up about 3/4 of an inch of space at the top of the stem there. That's what you're going to be, where you're going to be doing the grafting. It's very simple to do. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is cut some little squares of this cling film material. So just take your scissors, pull it out about 2 inches from the box, and then with your scissors just cut some little squares of that. So you're looking for a piece roughly that size. It doesn't need to be any bigger than like 2 by 2 inches. All right, so I'm just going to put that on the edge of the table over here, and you're going to need one piece for each graft that you do. So cut those off. If you stretch it towards you, it's easier to cut it. Put those over here. So I'm going to continue to cut these Pereskiopsis. I'm going to just take the top off one of them and the next one. And the last one. I'm just doing 4 of these today, but it's a fun thing to do. And as you can see, each plant has several leaves at the bottom, so they've got lots of leaves to make photosynthesis. Now, afterwards you've got these cuttings. So you take the lower leaves off these cuttings, like just leave about 1/2 inch of bare stem at the bottom, and then those will root very easily later when you put them in a little pot with some soil. Okay, going back to the Pereskiopsis here, make sure that you've cut off the top few leaves so that you've got at least 3/4 of an inch of bare stem at the top. There's also nasty little spines that can be produced by these Pereskiopsis depending on where they're grown. If they're grown in the greenhouse outside, they will be very spiny. If you grow them under lights or indoors, they'll have fewer spines. But anyway, cut those leaves off until you've got a little bit of bare stem at the top. And it's important when you're doing these processes that you do all the same process at the same time. So you don't do the grafting where you cut the leaves off the Pereskiopsis and then move on to immediately grafting that. No, prepare all the Pereskiopsis first and then prepare all the grafts next and then do all the grafting one after another. So you're always doing the same process at the same time instead of going from one process to the next, one process to the next, one process to the next 5 times. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is prepare the little seedlings. Another thing I forgot to tell you about is we're going to need these things, which you've probably seen before. They're little clips They're like the ones that are used for holding orchid stems onto the little bamboo cane that they come with. They're a super help. They're much more compact than clothes pegs. They don't cause the plant to fall over when you flip them on. And you can buy these very inexpensively on Amazon. Okay, so here's what we're going to be grafting. These are these tiny little seedlings of a mammillaria. It's Mammillaria schumannii. I just happened to grow that one from seed. So what I like to do is just to take the seedling out of the pot here and clean all the dirt off it using my fingers. So there's no dirt left on the tiny seedling. There it is. I don't know if you can see that there. Tiny little seedling at the bottom. There we are. And I'm just going to put this on the paper towel right down here. Now, because I've got 4 of these grafts to do right now, I'm going to prepare 4 seedlings by just pulling off the root. You don't need the root anymore because you're going to be cutting that off. But you also want to try and get as much of the soil off as you can. So I clear that off, pop it down on the paper towel. And here's the next one. You can just lift those out with a pencil or with your fingers and just gently brush off the dirt. Okay, there's 3. And here's the last one, the 4th one. Pinch off all that little bit of dirt that's there. And do whatever it takes to get the dirt off. Just brush it with your fingers, blow on it, rub it on the paper towel. Okay, so there's 4 little seedlings right down here. So now what I'll do is I'll just sort of gently rub them on the paper towel a bit to get those cleaner. This really helps because if you're trying to do this one at a time and there's dirt involved, it'll be a real mess. Okay, I'm going to show you how to cut the seedling. So there it is on the paper towel. I pick it up with between my thumb and forefinger. You can see it there. And I'm going to cut off the root end. I'm going to cut it around the equator of the plant so that it's around the fattest part of it, so that you've got a nice big fat piece that sits on top of the razor blade, just like that, right? The other piece was underneath the razor blade and it's going to be brushed away. Okay, so there's your little seedling right on top of the razor blade. Then you bring over your trusty Pereskiopsis, and what I'm going to do now is cut a little tiny slice off the very top of that to give us a brand new fresh wound there, and just cut it against your finger again. It's not going to cut you if you do it gently. Lift that piece off, and then you can just put your blade there and slide the little plant, the little tiny seedling right on top of that, and you can push it into the place where it's more or less in the middle. Don't worry too much about trying to get it all aligned with the cambial rings and any of that stuff. Most of the time, the seedling, if it's roughly the same diameter as the stem of the Pereskiopsis, it'll be just fine. So then you take a little piece of your cling film that you've had cut into the 2-inch square, and you gently put that over the top of the seedling. So this is where that goes. Just gently let it fall over it, like that. And then you sort of mold it down over the stem. And now it's giving you a nice downward pressure on that little tiny grafted piece. And that'll make it nice and snug. And it'll stop it drying out as well. That's the main purpose of that little cling film stuff. It puts downward pressure on it and stops it drying out. Now, if you want to do the whole belt and suspenders thing, put an orchid clip on as well, and it won't fall off on you. So that's how it's done. Now we're going to move this to the place where I grow these plants for the next several weeks. Okay, so here is my Cactus Workshop in the garage. It's just a bank of fluorescent lights, and as you can see, there's lots of different Pereskiopsis growing here, and all sorts of little cacti grafted on top of them. So let me show you what the lamps are. The lamps are these high output T5 lamps. They're 4 feet long, and there's 2 of them in each rack. They're just like standard ordinary fluorescent bulbs, but they're called high output, so they give extra light. And they're just a regular warm white or cool white color. You don't have to get any special ones for plants or anything. So here's the Pereskiopsis that grows happily underneath the light. As you can see, they're about 10 inches or 12 inches below the light. And when the plants are growing happily, and they've already been grafted for a week or so, there's some of the little seedlings, you see? Tiny, teeny seedlings. It's a little Echinocerius there. Occasionally some of them fail and they fall off, so that's one that's gone. And let me show you over here. Here's the cacti that are just growing from seed, the tiny seedlings, and they're also growing under the lights, but they're growing really slowly. Here's a whole bunch of Echinocerius, tiny seedlings. Here's some Trichoserius seedlings. And then over here are some Ariocarpus seedlings that I grafted a couple of months ago. So let's see now, I sowed those in October, grafted them around Thanksgiving, the 20th of November. And they've gotten quite big now, and they're growing in well. Okay, so where do I put these? The plants that are newly grafted, I put them away from the light. So I'll put them down lower down here where there isn't a light shining on them, and they'll stay down there for maybe a week or so, and then I'll take the little clips and the plastic saran wrap cling film material off the top of them, and then they'll be placed underneath the lights. So here's some that I put out about a week ago. In the back there's some that have been grafted a good long time ago. Those are Phralia magnifica. Over here I grew some Trichoserius early in the year, and they're loving it. They grow very fast, and of course
show you guys my dragon fruit. I grafted some holiday cactus on the top. You can see it's flowering right now. This right here actually started out as a flower, but it turned into a branch on me, so I was hoping that it would turn back into a flower bud, but that didn't happen. As you can see, the regular dragon fruit is kind of triangular, but this new growth here, it has kind of alternating, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, as you can see. So I think I'm going to break that off since it's not a flower. I kind of want to have all the nutrients concentrated into the holiday cactus. As you can see, one of the things I notice is that this thing is very thick. It got really thick when I grafted onto here. I grafted this in the winter and brought it outside, and it's been doing great. It's putting off a lot of new growth here. It's kind of weird. Usually it's flat, but you can see there's one back here that's kind of X shaped. But it's pretty exciting to see this experiment take off here and getting some flowers, so it's pretty cool. Put it in a pretty small pot. The nice thing about dragon fruit, I did try growing Christmas cactus, but you got to pay a lot of attention to them, especially with watering, because if you overwater them or you leave them outside like I did and it rained a lot, you'll get root rot and they die. But with dragon fruit, it's a lot more hardy when it comes to overwatering. These are actually kind of tropical cactus too, so they can handle a lot more water than your normal cactus or even your holiday cactus. So that was my idea, to use the dragon fruit as a rootstock and graft the Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving cactus onto it. So, because the flowers are pretty nice. I mean, not as nice as the dragon fruit, but they'll flower, you know, more often than the dragon fruit. So I figured it'd be a good idea. See how that worked out. So that is my little overview of this little